Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to use Moda Scrap's Unconventional Christmas collection to make 12 cards using one pack of 6x6 paper. The bundle that I purchased contained 12x12, 6x6, a stamp set, and a die set. Let's take a closer look at what came in the kit. Both the 12x12 and the 6x6 pattern paper are the same. The first sheet is a sheet of iceberg with the icon images. Next we have blue and green polka dots. We have a bluish chevron with stars, some Christmas light bulbs, a whole sheet of iceberg paper, some more Christmas light bulbs, green chevron paper, a whole sheet of the icon images, pinkish red chevron with polka dots, a white blue star paper with cute little polar bears, a whole XMAS sheet, and the 12x12 includes these cut apart images, which do differ a little bit from the 6x6 images, which I'll show you now. So the 6x6 images are the same as the 12x12. They are just a smaller design to fit on that size paper. I got this kit quite a while ago, so I don't think it's available anymore anywhere, but you're welcome to look. Love those polar bears. And you'll see the cut aparts that are included on the 6x6 sheet. We will use some of those. The stamp set and the coordinating die set came with the bundle that I purchased. The images on the stamp set, the sentiments say, Xmas is time to share love and joy. Do you want to build a snowman? Xmas is time with family, and Merry Christmas. I do believe I use all of those sentiments throughout today's card, including a few of the dies. Oh yes, and the big image of joy. For card number 1, we are using a card sketch from OWH Sketch number 82. I did pre-cut everything. I'll just show you the assembly of the card. This one's pretty easy. You'll notice I used the blue chevron star paper, and I am mounting that onto some blue cardstock that I had in my stash. And I am using one of the cut aparts, the little penguin wrapped in Christmas lights that says Christmas across the top, also mounting that on blue cardstock. My cards are A2 in size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm just utilizing that sketch for some inspiration, even though mine does look a little bit different, but generally close to it. Mounting that blue cardstock and then my cut apart right on top of there. And then I'll put that card front onto a card base. And you'll notice the little strip. I do like to put a small strip in the inside of the card. I do handwrite in all of my cards, so I generally don't stamp an image, but I do like a little bit of pattern paper on the inside of the card as well. And there's card number 1. For card number 2, we're going to use another sketch by OWH. This is sketch number 23. This one I'm using the green chevron paper, again mounted on green cardstock from my stash. And we're also going to pull in the white with blue star paper with those little polar bears that were in the corner that I liked so much. Going to separate these two pieces of pattern paper with some gold vinyl pinstripe strips. I did get these from Amazon. They are Paper Wishes Dazzles, if you're interested in looking those up. And I'm just going to cut that strip off here with my X-Acto knife and put the remainder back on to use a little bit later. Going to have a small green strip going down the left side of the card following the sketch, which is a little off the screen right now. And then using an oval die cut, I'm going to stamp the image Merry Christmas. Making sure I get a good stamp there the first time. And then I am going to mount the card onto the card base before I add that image, because I am going to end up popping that sentiment up. Card base was a little large, so let me cut that down so that I have no white showing as I add that card front to this card base. And I'm going to add my sentiment right there in the middle of everything, and I am going to pop that up. Adding quite a few pop dots so I get coverage all around. And then taking those backs off of there, which always take me a long time. I don't know about you, but I watch people do this so quickly and I can never get these things off that quickly. And then I'll go ahead and adhere my sentiment. And that is card number 2. For cards number 3 and 4, we're going to use another sketch by OWH Sketch number 2. For this first card, we're going to use the Christmas light bulb pattern paper mounted on black cardstock. And then for the strip going across, we're going to use the remainder of that blue with the stars on it. Get that mounted on some black cardstock and then placed across the, not quite center of the card, it's up a little bit more towards the top. And then I'm going to use this die cut image of Merry Christmas, again mounting on black cardstock, and then I will cut that out. I usually try to leave an 1/8 of an inch border around the pattern paper. I just think it separates the pattern paper from one to the next. And then I will bring in some cardstock paper to just level this out, since it is sitting on top of another pattern paper, but off a little bit. Just like to add that cardstock to the back, trying to keep everything level. And I'll add that to the card, and that will complete card number 3. Card number 4, I used the same sketch, which you'll see here in just a moment. I used the XMAS paper with the green chevron going across the front and the joy cut apart. Adding that strip to the inside there to finish it off a little bit. And there's card number 3 and 4. For card number 5, we're using card sketch OWH number 64. I like the OWH card sketches because they give the measurements on the card sketches. Not all card sketch site sketches have the measurements pre-filled for you. So that's why I like the OWH. but we're using the blue and green polka dot paper, again, mounting on some blue cardstock from my stash, also using some of this iceberg paper for the other pattern paper that we have, mounting on blue cardstock, just on the left-hand side and the bottom. Kept it flush on the right and the top because we're going to put that on that top right-hand corner, so we're going to utilize that blue cardstock from the main base as the outer edge. Mounting that onto a card base, again, card base A2 in size. And then I am mounting my inside strip now, just because that's what I happen to grab next, using some of that polka dot paper. I did go ahead and stamp one of these images. I stamped the polar bear, not very good at coloring, so chose the animal that doesn't need any coloring since he's white. And then also stamped and dyed out the word joy, which I'm going to add to the middle of the water there, just kind of floating along. Use my stamp block just to hold that down so it adheres with the glue. And then go ahead and glue down my little polar bear in the corner. Sketch shows a heart. I use the polar bear. And that's going to be it for this card. Pretty easy. Card number 5. Next is card sketch OWH number 218. I like this card sketch when you want to feature a particular pattern paper, which is what I wanted to do with this icebergs with the icons on it. So first we're going to start by mounting the white with blue stars onto a piece of blue cardstock. Then we're going to use the remainder of the blue and green polka dot strips to go across the bottom part of that card there. Now I didn't mount this on any pad or any cardstock because I am going to go ahead and bring in the vinyl pinstripe stickers again. So you'll see I am mounting that piece of pattern paper there onto the blue cardstock. And then there's those vinyl outline stickers. These ones happen to be by Crazy Creations. They are a holographic blue color. Very sparkly and shiny, so I do like these ones. And just trim off that first edge. And then bring in another strip to do the bottom part of that stripe. Again, this just creates a little separation between the two pattern papers. Having a little trouble getting this one down. There we go. And then trim off that end as well. And put the remainder on there to use at another time. And then bring in that large square of the pattern paper that I really wanted to feature. You can see I was able to cut the paper to really capture all of those icons. I have 3 of the kids on there, the polar bear, the igloo, so I was really able to use that pattern paper to the best of my ability. Again, going to mount some cardstock onto the back of this just to keep it level since it is sitting on top of overlapping some additional pattern paper. And then I'll just apply some adhesive there and get that square mounted on there. Did get a little crooked on me, so I do try to lift it up here and make it a little straight again. Looks a little better. And then I did use one of the cut-aparts here, and I just stamped the image, "Xmas is time to share love and joy." And I had pre-mounted that on some blue cardstock. Again, just going to add some paper onto the back to keep it level since it is sitting off of one of the other pattern papers. And I'll be sure not to cover any of the image that I want to see. Go ahead and mount this card front to a card base. Had to change the tape roller. And then you will see, in addition to the pinstripe vinyl outline stickers, I also have some of the circle dot vinyl stickers as well that match. Again, these are from Crazy Creations. So if you are interested in those, and I would just add 3 following the sketch to this card. And that completes card number 6. For card number 7 in H, I am using OWH Sketch number 222. For this card, I will be using the pink chevron gradient dot paper along with the icon pattern paper. And you'll notice that I cut those in half triangles. So that's how I'm going to make 2 cards out of this. The opposite triangle I did use to make the other card, which you'll see here at the end. I'm going to go ahead and mount those 2 pattern papers onto some pink cardstock that I had in my stash. And then following the sketch, I'm going to add a 1/2 inch strip of that same pink cardstock to the front to create that separation. And then I'll turn over my card front here and trim off the extra of that strip, using that card base as my guide to trim that. You'll notice back there that I cut out the pink scallop circle from that cardstock just to save myself some other cardstock. And I'm going to mount this card front to its card base. And then I will add my Merry Christmas sentiment that I had pre-stamped onto my pink scallop circle and add that to the pink pattern paper. I did forget to record the 3 dots that I included in the middle of that pink strip there, which you'll see here in just a moment after I add the inside. And that completes card number 7 and card number 8. For card number 9, we're going to use OWH Sketch number 3. This card contains the last full sheet of pattern paper that I had with the Christmas light bulbs on there, which you can see I'm using, and I'm adding to a green piece of cardstock. This card is going to be very colorful because I use multiple pieces of solid colored cardstock. Going to use the remaining piece of that pinkish red dot paper to go across the middle. And then for the circles, I used up the remainder of the icon paper, and I tried to cut out, using a circle die cut, the various icons that were on that pattern paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount these 3 circles as evenly as possible that I mounted on blue. So you can see I used 3 different colors of solid colored cardstock. So again, very colorful. I'll get that polar bear down, and then I will mount that circle on the right, trying to get everything even, and then mount that circle on the left. Following this sketch pretty closely. For the sentiment on this card, I did use the Do You Want to Build a Snowman sentiment, and just going to cut that at an angle, give it a little bit make it a little bit more interesting, and mount that onto blue cardstock. And I'll bring in my paper trimmer here and cut that down. And following the sketch, I will mount that sentiment then on the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, and I'll mount this card front to its card base. And I did forget to cut a strip for the inside, so I'll go ahead and do that now. Just like to use whatever pattern paper that I have left over as I'm getting down to the end here. Happen to have some of that Christmas light bulb paper, so that matches. And I'll cut that down and I'll add that to the inside of the card. And that completes card number 9. For card number 10, I'm not using a card sketch, but you will see I'm using the cover page of the 6x6 paper pack. This first sheet was the same heavyweight cardstock as the rest of the pattern paper, and I liked the stripes that went along the top. A lot of times I'll cut my remaining pattern paper in stripes and use it this way. So since this cover page already sort of had that, I figured I would just go ahead and take advantage of that and use that for this card. So I went ahead and mounted that on a piece of solid blue cardstock and separated with one of those blue holographic outline stickers. And then also on that front cover were the icons that I fussy cut, and going to add that to the bottom right hand corner. I will add some adhesive here and add this card front to its card base. And then the last thing I'm going to do is bring in the Merry Christmas stamp and stamp on that bottom left-hand solid blue paper. Hoping I get a good stamp here, which I did. And that's going to complete card number 10. For cards number 11 and 12, I did use a 3x4 1-inch square die cut to use up the remainder of the pattern paper. So this first card, you'll see I'm using a solid green cardstock outline, which I'm going to go ahead and adhere to a solid black cardstock background, getting adhesive in all of those around those little squares, placing that down on that black cardstock. And then I'm going to inlay all of the various pattern paper that I had cut out. For this card, I used the XMAS paper, the icon sheet, and the Christmas light bulbs. So I'm just going to try to place one of each of those on each of the lined squares here, trying to make sure that I don't have any of the same pattern paper sort of in the same row next to each other. And then just filling in each square as I go. And then you will see here, made a little mistake, because if I put that light bulb paper there, it would be right above and below each other. So I'm going to move over that XMAS paper to the left-hand side, just added a little bit more adhesive. Luckily, I'm using liquid glue here, so I was able to pick it up pretty quickly and easily, and then add that light bulb to the right-hand side. Just like to make sure that the pattern paper sort of is not right next to one another as best as I can. And then I'll adhere these last two squares. And then the sentiment that I had pre-stamped for this card is Xmas is time with family. And get this card front onto a card base. Trying to make sure that I don't have any of that white card base showing, which I did a little bit, but I might just trim off. And put my inside strip. And then that sentiment, we'll go ahead and cut that again at a diagonal just to make it a little more interesting. Got to mount it onto some green cardstock so that it pops out a little bit better. I'll trim that down. And I was going to lay that down just like that, but I didn't think that it popped out enough, so I am going to go ahead and mount that a second time onto black cardstock and then get that trimmed and mounted on the front of the card. Card number 12, which you'll see here in a minute, is using this same 3x4 1-inch die cut, but I did use up the remainder of the iceberg paper and a couple of the icons, and that one I again used Christmas is Time with Family and the word joy. And that's going to go ahead and complete card 11 and 12. Here's what I have remaining from the 6x6 paper pad, just a small strip and a couple of the color parts, of course all of the 12x12 paper and the stamp and die set. I'll just lay out the 12 cards that we were able to make with the 12 sheets of 6x6 paper here once more so you can take a look at them. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please feel free to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Hope you have a wonderful day.